I know what you're thinking. This is an August Fool's Day joke. Unfortunately, it's not. What's up, everybody? This is Ryan from FistFullofPotions.com, and Nintendo has recently announced a new portable gaming platform in the family of the 3DS line. Before I go any further, though, let me get some of this out of the way first.
I told you 3D was stupid. You knew it, I knew it, now Nintendo knows it, and they're showing it to us by giving us a 2DS. What's a 2DS? I want a 3DS with a 2D off because nobody wants 3D, Nintendo. Duh, thanks for listening. Ow.
Nintendo's so stupid. This is why I own PlayStation.
Well, you see, Internet, Nintendo has a bunch of used 3DS consoles that are refurbished laying in a warehouse somewhere that they are actually using to make a new console just to make a buck off of us again.
Nintendo's so stupid. This is why I own an Xbox. You see, Internet, Nintendo is actually a very smart corporation. They've decided to target an audience that they haven't been able to target with the 3DS before this, ages 0 to 7. Because as we all know, the 3DFX are not designed for children under the ages of 7, and now they can target that demographic, which is clearly worth hundreds of... Alright, now that we've gotten that all out of the way, what is the 2DS? The 2DS is a new portable system in the family of 3DS consoles. It's no longer a clamshell design, it is actually always open face. So take your 3DS, open it up, and duct tape it. It's basically the same thing. And it's also designed for ages 7 and below, which we obviously know from the packaging of all of the 3DS games that 3DFX are not designed for ages 7 and below, because your eyes are still developing, and or whatever. I guess the same reason why you wouldn't want to put earbuds in a child's ears, because it could damage their eardrums because their eardrums are still developing. Otherwise, it's basically just a 3DS without a 3D effect. So who is the 2DS designed for then? Well, the 2DS is not designed for you, because if you're watching this video right now, there's a good chance that you're over the age of 7 years old. And also, Nintendo is not stopping production on the 3DS or the 3DS XL. So if you're thinking, oh, this is a terrible platform, whatever you're saying, you don't have to buy this thing. And chances are you probably already have a 3DS, so you don't have to trade in your 3DS to get a 2DS. And if you don't have a 3DS yet, go buy a 3DS. 2DS is designed for a younger demographic. It looks like a Fisher-Price toy because it's designed for the Fisher-Price age group. So what's wrong with the 2DS then? Well, it's no longer as portable as it used to be. One of the best design features on the 3DS was the clamshell design. The fact that you could have a large display on your screen, you could even have 2 screens, all your face buttons and everything when you're gaming, and then when you're done, it folds up into a nice, neat, small package. This is a giant portable gaming system, but it still fits in my back pocket because I can collapse it. If I had to put it in my pocket like this, I would never be able to get it in my pocket. Because of that, the 2DS, because it doesn't actually collapse on itself, while it's not as big, the screen size, as a 3DS XL, it's still as big as a regular 3DS in its full open position, which is not going to fit in anyone's pocket, realistically. Now granted, I've already explained that the 2DS is not designed for us, me or you watching this video, but you also have to take into consideration that the clamshell design was not only for portability, but it was also there to protect the important components of the device. Most importantly, the screen. Kids aren't very polite with their toys. They get tossed around, they sit on them, sometimes they even step on them. When the 3DS is closed, those important components are protected by the outer shell of the device. It's no longer the case with the 2DS because you can't collapse it closed. So if your kid drops it, or it's laying on the ground and steps on it, then the screen could get damaged, cracked, scratched, whatever the case. Also, another aspect that's wrong with the 2DS is that it's not marketed for us. That seems a little bit strange, just because of the fact that the only difference between the 2DS and the 3DS is the fact that the screen is not displayed in 3D, obviously other than the design features, but really the main key component is the fact that they took the 3D off the screen. So doesn't really make sense to me, because why couldn't you just take the 3D off the 3DS screen? Why can't you plug in a parental control that says, do not display games in 3D? I mean, I'm no engineer, so I don't know the inner workings of the 3DS, but I'm pretty sure when I slide that little slider on the side of the screen, it's not sliding a mechanical arm that's sliding another shade down in front of my screen. There's something digital happening there as well. So there's got to be some way of actually preventing the game to be displayed in 3D on a regular 3DS. Obviously that's a bit of a marketing nightmare, because then you have to then get the word out to parents saying, no, it's okay, you can buy this for your kids, because you have to just put parental controls on to turn the 3DS effect off, and then you have to rely on retail workers to explain that. That doesn't always happen. But still, launching an entirely new platform that's only marketed for ages 7 and below seems completely and utterly confusing. Nintendo obviously has the money to do it and the power to do it, but still, shouldn't they be focusing this amount of effort somewhere else? I guess this is why it's so easy to go down the conspiracy theory route, where people think that these are a bunch of refurbished 3DSs just repackaged in a different way so they can utilize that extra hardware they have laying around. I mean, you start to think about it like, man, that logically, that's the only thing I can think of why they would do something like this. But on the flip side of it, Nintendo's probably legitimately looking at it and saying, look, we are selling these things and parents aren't buying them for kids ages 7 and under, because they see right on the box, not for kids 7 and under. And we've isolated a huge demographic of our market. So let's put out another console that we can fill in that gap and have 100% market share, because, Nintendo. So my last bullet point that I had to go over was, what does the 2DS do right? And I sat here for a while trying to think of a logical explanation as to what the 2DS actually does right, so I could have something to talk about in this bullet point. In reality, I came up with nothing. Not because it's not marketed for me and I don't understand it and all the stuff that I said at the beginning of this video, the skit that I did. It's just, I don't logically see a reason for this existence. This feels like the Game Boy Micro all over again, where it's neat, I guess, to have a Game Boy belt buckle. Sure, why not? I mean, it's cool, it's niche, if you will. But a company that's having hardware problems with their home console and was originally struggling with the 3DS console, Nintendo hasn't had a cakewalk in the past 10 years with video game hardware. Them to just kind of play around and throw random stuff at the wall like this to see if it sticks seems a little bit risky, and they should be really focusing on other things like, getting Super Nintendo games on the 3DS. Like, why hasn't that happened yet? Or even putting a stronger emphasis on getting the name of the Wii U out there. I still get people where I work coming in confusing the Wii U for just a controller for the old Wii console. Nintendo, why are you making a portable gaming console for people under the age of 7 years old when you've got people of every age that still think your new home console is a peripheral for your old gaming console? I just don't even right now. I'm literally all out of evens when it comes to this system. Anyways, I just wanted to take the high road and actually discuss this topic rather than do what everyone else is doing on the internet and just make funny gifs of how terrible this console is. I wanted to actually discuss and really understand why this console doesn't make sense. But I want to know what you think. Do you think this console makes sense? Do you have an application for it? Are you a parent who thinks this is a great idea for their kid? Do you think all my ideas are wrong? Please let us know in the comments below. We'd be happy to continue this conversation with you in the comments section. And as always, like and subscribe. We constantly put out new video content, and we put out a weekly podcast you can check out on FistFullofPotions.com or find us on iTunes. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time.